Hello, my name is Kendrick Celestine. Today in my video, I'm going to be talking about Maria W. Stewart speeches. The reason why I wanted to address help because Maria W. Stewart was a free African American during the early 1800s, and she wrote a lot of public speeches. And also, I wanted to make this video because she made one of the most beautiful historic moments. She was the first African American woman domestic servant, teacher, journalism, literature, abolitionist, and women rights activist. And I wanted to make this video because this is an inspiration for this free black woman from who wasn't a slave, who spoke about against anti-slavery during the 19th century. The reason I want to make this is an anniversary speech of her speech she wrote out, and I find it to be very interesting because I wanted to acknowledge her work. This speech she made was about 188 years ago on this day, and and it takes place in Boston, so I wanted to read this out, and I wanted to make this help you guys see what you think of this view, what I take mine. So I'm gonna get started with this, what I wrote out, what my research I did about. So I'm gonna get started. Maria was born on 1803 in Hartford, Connecticut, a free African American, and she was the first African American woman to make public anti-slavery speech. She made two pamphlets of religion and the pure principles of morality. Her maiden name is Maria Miller, and the child to free African American parents. In 1806, she lost both her parents at the age of 3. She was raised at a minister home until she was 15 without receiving any form of education. Maria attended Shabbat school, service, and entity religion works. And also, let's see, um, around August 10th, 1826, Maria married John W. Stewart, an independent shipping agent, and Reverend Thomas Paul, pastor of the African American Meeting House in Boston, Massachusetts. Also, she took the last name in the initials, but she'd been married for about 3 years and her husband died. He had served in the War of 1812, and eventually a law was passed allowing veterans and widows their husbands and pensions. And also, let's see. Okay. And this is the historic moment I wanted to read out. See if you guys think of this perspective. On February 27, 1833, Maria W. Stewart gave this speech before a racial integrated audience at the African Masonic Hall in Boston. African rights, liberty. It is the subject of Out to the Fire breast of a free man of color in the United States, exactly in his bosom of a living, deep, decided, and heartfelt interest. When I cast my eye on the long list of celestials' names that were enrolled on the bright annuals of the fame amongst the whites, turn my eye within, and I ask my thoughts, where are the names of our astrologing ones? It was certainly I had been for the want emergencies on the part of the free people of color, that they been long willing to bear the yoke of oppression. It was have been the want of invention and force that has given the whites obligations to say that our natural abilities are not as good, or captivities by our nature inferior to theirs. The body insert that did we post a natural independent soul that feel for love for liberty within our breasts, some of our own stable race long before this would have testified it. Nothing with outstanding disadvantages when under we labor. We made ourselves appear together on quality to speak in our own defense, and are therefore looking upon our subject of pity and commiseration, we have been imposed upon instead, and we declare every side. And now, as we complain, it is considered as the height and independence in the independence. We have suffered ourselves to be continued considered a disasters, coward, mean, and faint heart watches, and on this account, not because our complex, mainly disappear as the would glad spare us from their presence. The things that have fired my soul with a whole indignation that compel me for those to come forward and evade their turn, attentions of knowledge and improvement, for the knowledge is power. I would ask is blindness of mind or stupidity of soul. I want education that has occurred or men within our 60 years or 70 years of age. Never let their voices be heard. There had to be in a behalf of their color. Or has been for their fear of often with the offending whites. It is has a ye fearful ones, throughout their fearness, come within the name of the Lord, in the straight that of the God that the out of the justice make themselves useful and active members in the society. They admire noble and particular spirituals and others, and should not admire it in us. If you are a man and convinced that you are positioned as spiritual man, as your day, should your straight be have the sons of Africa no souls, feel and no admission desires? Should you chain or ignore forever confine them? Should the in spitting and pellination of the clover Negroes our good creations, and any longer contact them, whatever we can, I found among ourselves the man of science, or a philosopher, or a able to state or counselor at law. Should we fearless and brave, or noble and gallant ones, where are the literatures or natural history or our city or critics or useful knowledge? There may be a few such men among us, but they are rare. It is true our fathers bled and died in our Revolutionary War, and others fought brave under the command of the Jackson in the defense of liberty. But where is the man that has distinguished himself in the modern days of acting whole in the defense of Africa rights and liberty? There was one fought, he sleeps, his memory lives. I am sensible that there are many high intelligent gentlemen of color in this United States. In the forces of old arguments, the doubt of I should discover an inferiority, but they are blessed within in the talent, friend, or fortune. Why not made themselves men of eminence by straight staring to take all the reproach of the cast upon the people of color, and developing, enduring to elevate the hose of their breathing and ponage. Talk without effort, it's nothing, and after to cable-like gentlemen, it make them young themselves men, and distinguish the distinctions. This is gross neglect your part, cast my blood to boil with me. Here are the grand cases which the headers have raised in the programs and the people of color. There, if you want, an envy wasted with Christian courage. And let's see. Individuals may have been distinguished of according to their genesis and talents, every sense of the first formation of man will continue to be listed in the word stands. Different grades or race of honor and respectability and their merits and may desire. History informs us we spur from one of the most learned nations of the whole earth from the sea. It is not the parent of the science, yes, but yes, poor desire Africa, once the resort of the sage legislators of other nations was esteemed the school for learning. The million astrologer men in Greece flocked there for instructions, but it was a gross sins and abominations, and provoke on the mountly to for the heavy upon us, and give us our glory into the sun, and prodigally have caused the downfall of the nation kings and empires, and where the God in the wrath remember of mercy. We might indeed despair, but a promise is the left, and Ethiopia should again stretch in her hands unto God. But it is no for us in breast we spur from the learn of the enlightened nations, for this day and fic must more the hands over millions of our race. Our conditions as a people has been low hundreds of years, and we will continue to be unless but the true patron of the servant was regained the rich of the which we have lost. White Americans, by their prudence, economic extraction, extermination, have sprung up and become one of the most flourishing nations in the world, distinguishing for their knowledge of the arts, science, and their polite literature, well as art and mind, and vacant in their staring and what they want the knowledge for their feeling on following. Most of our color have been taught to stand fear the white man for their earliest infants, to work as soon as they could walk, and they are called ministers. We call the lips of our named mother, continue the fear of labors, and still in our have named some degree lessons, and unless the natural forces emerge and to belong to a man, or else he defines oppositions of our man before this have been notified above continue for their rights, but that give the man of the color equal opportunity for the white, they create in the manhood to inform the manhood to get brave, and you young discover the distinguished statement, the statement of science, and the philosopher, but there no opportunity for their sons of Africa. I fear that our powerful once fearfully determined that there are never should be forbidden of the powers that high that is should any longer be that our man poison no forces. So yes, yeah. Oh yeah, the son of Africa. When your voices be heard in our legislating halls, and defiance of our enemies that for your equal rights and liberty, how can you, when you reflect from you have fallen, rifting and crying mightily into God, and turned away from the fineries and on your year as anger, and remember the transgression against us, and no more forever. But a God and infant proudly will not regard the prayer of those who hold religion in on one hand, pride, prejudice, sin, pollutions, and the others. He will not regard prayers of his hand and his righteousness and hypocrisy. It is impossible I can examine that he want the knowledge he wants a labor, but his hundreds of years of support it being contact and to receive that he chose to give and us in return. Cast your about luck as far as you can see. All is owned by the Lord in white, except here their Lord dwelling, which the man of color minds the privatized fraud, opposition has been scared up able to like a King Solomon, who put neither nail near the hammer to the temple. Yes, receive the praise. Also have the white Americans gained themselves a name like the names of the great men that are in the earth, while in the reality we have been prejudiced foundations of we have supposed shadows and obtain the substance we have performed the labor, and they receive recent profit we have planted in the vines, they have eaten the fruits. I would implore our men, especially of the raising youth, to feel free to gamble, board, and dance hall, for we are the poor. We have no money for anyway. We do not dance as a criminal itself, but we Alish to me, our young men are, and some are blind to their interests, futures where of their children, as they spend their hard earnings for amount for it has been crying among us to such as be uncoming extended to their become absolutely distinguished, faithful, or the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy of an enemy is decideful. Have those men among us who have opportunities to turn their attentions as the mental end. Let's see. Moral improve as they have gambled the dancing. I might have remained quietly at home. They stood and took my place and politely would never enroll their names on the bright annuals of the mall who admire, beloved, intelligent, or impaired, undaintly in talks and lie on a political but outstanding sentences, his yellow followings, when he is never muscles of every other man who of men force him to be able to fill out a field of action. Yeah, you have the right to rejoice and let your heart cheer in the days of your youth. Yet that you remember all those things that God will bring you into your judgment. Then on your sons of Africa, turn your mind from the perceptible objects, content for the cause of God that is right man. For those are yourselves are into the tents of science. There are the temples of the amongst you. Then why would you any longer neglect to stray, but your example for expressing vices up its all bare honest form. You have been told repeatedly of the glorious results as from temperance, and you can bear to see your rightness arising and honor of respectability also. But a forbear let our money instead be through the way Herefore, be a approach for schools and Simpsons and learn for our children and the youth. We to allow for a temple of the whites and respect nothing arise, our respectability, and add to our places of happiness, and reflect and so much honor up on us as to our promoters and temperance and supporters as fierce as we able to use in knowledge, significant knowledge of the rays of light of the inner knowledge, and being able to, from our view, we have been taught, consider ourselves a scarce superior to the bare creation, and have performed the most laborious part of Africa is draggery. Had we have people receive one of the earliest and strategy the whites have received, I have been definitely the government of the United States to deprive us along our rights. I am informed of the among ages of the colony society receive a form of associations of young men for those purposes influencing those of us to go to Liberia may feel disposed. The colonized are blind to their own interests. For should the nation of the earth make a war this America, they would find their forces much weaker by our absence. Or should we remain here, can we brave soldiers and fellow citizens? And they were tempered in the time, claiming the color define a right of the whites, and able to provide our own sent to Libya in return, or the colonized are real friends to Africa. Let the expand money which to collect, erect a college to collect her sons, and then land gospel, light, and liberty, for it would be most thinkable receiving our part, and convincing us the truth and professionals, and save the time like we are exactly let them place before us object worth pursue, and see if we have provide ourselves to those who are ambitions negroes to them times term us, and but minutes to think their hearts are so frozen. But us they had rather their money should be sunken in our oceans, and administrations too are relieved, in the fear that a dare, like a Pharaoh king of Egypt, they would order every male child among us drown. But the Most High God is still able to subdue the lift of those white Americans, as he was the heart of the ancient rebel. They thought that we were the up on as things, yet we spring from a significant people. Had our man we created force and energy, they would have convinced by the efforts of both in republic, let's see, to republic, the republic of private, and therefore the men work other things in shame in the shape of our men may not colonize our thoughts as the common our intelligence. Well may they cry, shame the sons of Africa, as the burden of Israel was too great, and our mouths too poor, our burden greatness to our sons are able advocate to bear. You must feel stead, my breath is what you undertake. Up on our hands by good words in our spirit in himself. His soul will discover, and his heart will die within him if he has. as if where he strong bows in the bash lifting content. So I wanted to share this because this was an inspiration, and I wanted to share this to you guys because this was a free African American woman from the early 1800s. So I wanted to spread this knowledge to you guys. So see what you think of this speech. So anyway, the title of the video, Maria W. Stewart speeches. So anyway, like, dislike, comment below, see what you think. I will continue making more later in the future. I hope you folks have a good day and be safe. This is Kendrick Celestine, and I'm out, folks, and be safe.